Happy New Year! And today we are going to be doing, in the spirit of the new year, a tag called New Year's Book Tag. So the last few videos that came out in 2023 have been pre-recorded. I pre-recorded a few of my videos for the 12 days of Christmas before the New Year's weekend because I knew I was going to be rather busy. So I'm finally back filming in the new year, and this will be my first video that I will be both filming and releasing in the new year, if that makes sense. So excited to be starting 2023, and I have big goals and ambitions for this year. But so I wanted to do a tag, because one, it's Tuesday, so Tag Tuesday, and two, because it's the new year and I wanted to do a tag that was centered around the new year. So I found this one, and it was created about 5 years ago by Bookables, and I will link her original video down in the description. It's a very quick tag, only 7 questions, but it really gets into some of the goals that you have for this year to come. And so this video will be a mix of the goals I have for 2023 as well as just a New Year's book tag. So the first question is, how many books are you planning to read in 2023? So the easy answer is as many as possible. So I still have, I think, 120 books on my physical TBR to read. I also have all the books that I received for Christmas and any other books that I buy this year that are all that I want to finish by the end of the year. But that is the ambitious goal. On my Goodreads, for example, I only have 107 books that I have on my Goodreads goal that I really want to read. So on average, usually I plan for trying to read at least 100 books a year. That is my easy goal. That is the goal that I know I will achieve. For example, last year I finished 162 books. So I went 60 some books over that goal. So the easy goal is 100 books, but in general, I would love to completely eliminate my giant physical TBR, which is my number one goal for 2023, is to read all the books on my physical TBR, which is right now at 120 some books. So we'll see if I actually get those done. Number 2 is name 5 books that you didn't get to this year. I assume this year as in last year, but want to make a priority in 2023. So I don't necessarily have any books that fall into this category because technically all the books on my physical TBR fall into this category. But the few that I have actually started last year that I want to finish this year, that I want to prioritize a little bit more because I'm already reading them. I do have 3 that I started last year and I need to finish this year. The Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis. This is a theological text. Kempis lived in, I think, the 1200s or the 1300s. He was a medieval theologian. So I am currently reading this one, but it's not that big a book, but I'm only 9 pages in, and it's that type of book that is so dense that you really need to take your time with it. The other one that I also started was Judge D at Work by Robert Van Gulik, which is a collection of short stories. I am 35 pages into a 180 page book. So I started it last year and I just fell out of reading it in December. So I do want to read it this year. And then this one I'm actively reading, whereas the other 2 I'm not as actively reading. The Clan of the Cave Bear I need to finish, obviously, this year, which I'm hoping to finish in a couple days, actually, as of when you're seeing this video, because I also have the 2nd and 3rd book to read this month. So those are for sure the books that I started or that I wanted to get to last year, but that I didn't end up getting to, that I really want to prioritize in 2023. However, I do have my entire physical TBR that I am prioritizing in a sense. So number 3 is, what genre do you want to read more of? And I'm not focusing on genre or reading different books. In previous years, I've tried to make it my goal to read types of books that I wouldn't usually read. I think one year, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, I tried to read more sci-fi than I usually do. Another year, I tried to read more fantasy than I usually do, because those two genres are ones that I want to explore more, but I haven't had time. But for this year, because I'm focusing on my physical TBR, and my physical TBR is definitely all over the place with genres. I have like some mysteries, I have a lot of like nonfiction, I have a lot of like short story anthologies, and because of that, I will be naturally challenging my taste for reading just by sticking with my physical TBR. So for right now, I'm not going to say, oh, there's a specific genre I will be tackling more this year. If anything, it will definitely be more short stories than I usually read, because I tend not to read many short stories, and a lot of the books that I have had on my physical TBR for many years are short story collections, are like the complete collections of Edgar Allan Poe right here, or H.P. Lovecraft. I have his complete collection too that I need to tackle this year. So I guess if there's one genre that I will be having to tackle more this year, it would be short stories or anthologies, just because I have so many of those on my physical TBR that I need to get to this year. Number 4 is name 3 non-book related goals for 2023. So my one big goal that I'm working on this year that doesn't really have to do with my YouTube channel or my reading channel is saving money. So my husband and I are really tightly budgeting this year in order to save up enough to make a pretty good down payment on a house. So we are hoping to, by the end of 2023, maybe the very beginning of 2024, to buy our first house. So it's what we are striving to work for this year. And that's like my number one goal priority, like even above getting my physical TBR done, is just saving money to budget. But with that goal, I will say I have certain non-bookish other goals that I am focusing on more. And one of the main goals is being conscious about where my money is going and what I am spending on. So there's certain things you kind of like have to fit into your budget. For example, gas, groceries, things like that. But there are other things that you can cut back on and you can still have a good quality of life. So one thing that I'm really cutting back on this year is eating out. I'm not a big person who eats out a whole lot, but you know, I'm definitely limiting that more. And another thing is buying books. I would not be able to buy a lot of books. And that goes along with my goal for reading my physical TBR, just because I know that I don't want to buy a lot of books this year because I have to read them within a month. And with that, on top of reading my physical TBR, is going to be a lot if I end up buying more books. So I'm very much going to limit how many books I can buy this year. But above that, also anything I want to buy, whether it is clothes, fabric is another thing, crafts. I'm very much, a lot of my hobbies have to do with like sewing, knitting, needlepoint. I've gotten into embroidery recently. So those are things that I will be mostly eliminating from my life for 2023 to save up more money. So there's a lot of like smaller goals that go along with my big goal. It's not exactly a no-buy year that I'm focusing on, but it's a low-buy year, I guess. But that's like my goals for 2023 is to save more money and to be more mindful of how I spend my money and how I buy books. Another goal is just to continue doing what I've been doing to bring happiness to my life, whether it is on BookTube. I've really been loving focusing on BookTube, but not making it take over, letting it take over my life. You know, near the end of 2022, I got rid of my posting schedule. So now I can post however much I want. If I want to post like I'm doing now for the 12 days of Christmas, where I am posting every single day for 12 days, I can do that if I want to. But if I don't want to post for like a week or two, that is also okay. And I've found myself like automatically posting at least once or twice a week still, but it's on random days. So I might post like a Tag Tuesday one week and then random Saturday of another video, or like a book review, or something like that. And I'll be very random in how I post. And so I think that's my goal that is continuing over from 2022 is I want to do the things I love, like BookTube, but not have it add pressure to my life, because it's something that I do for enjoyment as a hobby. Number 5 is, what's a book you've had forever that you still need to read? My entire physical TBR. Yeah, I will just say all of those books on my giant physical TBR are all books that I've had on there for way too long. Some of those I have had since maybe like 5-6 years at least. Some of those I have had on my TBR for like 2 months. So it varies. Number 6, what one word that you're hoping 2023 will be? Hopeful. I think it's always important to, even when you are going through difficult times, to be hopeful about the future. And I feel like that's really hard sometimes to do in our modern culture, is to be hopeful about the future. So I am hopeful about my future right now. Not as much about the world's future, but I try to be positive or an optimist, even though I am generally not an optimist. So yeah, I would say hopeful. I would like 2023 to be a hopeful year. And then I'm not going to tag anybody, because question number 7 is tag a friend, because this tag is like 5 years old. But if you've never heard of this tag and you watch my video and are like, oh, I really want to do this tag, I would love, love, love to see your video for this tag. Or even if you just want to answer a few of the questions down in the comments. I love reading your guys' comments. That's one of my favorite parts of being part of BookTube, is just reading everyone's comments, whether it is other booktubers or people who don't make their own BookTube videos, but just enjoy watching other BookTube videos, which I definitely did for years before I actually got on BookTube. So thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.